This is where we're going wrong. We're commercializing and industrializing everything. There's too much of structure to everything. And learning doesn't happen in structures, let me tell you.
How can parents and educators really buffer that pressure when it's really, really tough during competitive exams?
A safe space. It's okay destigmatizing the failure, because right now it's highly stigmatized. Failure, you cannot fail. You cannot fail. That's it. You know? So I think destigmatizing failure, saying there's something to learn in the process, then it's okay if you're not able to make it 1 year, we can try for another year. And you should be okay with that, right? So I think, again, going back to the same thing, what are our conversations about with our children? Is it about who they are and what they aspire to become, or is it, about the numbers, the percentages, and the percentiles, and the career trajectory? I again, in my friend circle, I recently went out for a lunch party, and I saw my friend's daughter, and I could see on her face, and I asked my friend, I said, do you mind if I talk to her for 10 minutes? He said, kya hua? Kuch to nahi hua usko. I said, do you mind if I speak to her? Because, I'm concerned. Girl is not opening up to me. I said, how many hours do you sleep? She said 4 hours, 3.5 hours. I said, what do you do? She said, I have pressure. And she's a great creative kid, national level debater, orator, but doing PCM. Because father is very clear that it has to be PCM to a journey. But father doesn't see any problem in that. He said, ये सब हमने भी तो किया है, इनको भी करना है. क्या problem है इसमें? आजकल के बच्चे ज़्यादा stress लेते हैं. But I keep telling my colleagues, teachers also, and tell parents also, our vulnerabilities were very limited. We were not born in a WhatsApp era, where one news event impacts so much to us that I can take a decision in a fraction of a second. And also parents going back and feeding in their children. Sometimes, we come across parents who would say, if you don't do this as a school, my child will take his life. If you don't do this, I'm worried about. So what kind of community and what kind of a nation are we trying to build? So I think even if your child has taken a journey under your pressure to try, and for a lack of better word, you're funding their education, you're telling them very clearly, you got to do this, at least try this. Don't push them beyond that, and continue to give them a safe space that, okay, I want you to do it. Maybe you may not understand the reason, but should you fail, should you feel differently, come back and have conversation, So I couldn't have that conversation with that girl. I just asked her one question, how many hours a day you sleep? She said 4.5 hours. I said, what happened? What are you doing these days? I've not seen your Instagram updates on MUN and stuff like that. She says, oh, that was in grade 10th. I'm in 11th now. So you know how the whole circle is. What we liked, we took away that. We want her to pursue what we want her to pursue. We want her to pursue at the benchmarks we want her to excel in. So I think creating a safe space, saying, even if you're living my dream or my aspirations, I still would listen to you, so come back. Should you fail, should you feel differently, come back. Create opportunities of conversations.
Right.
And also just seek a professional help if you feel you're not able to do that. Not all of us are good at conversations with our children, right?
What is adding to this added pressure? Like you said, that they're growing up in a WhatsApp era. But what do you think what are the factors? Like, I always feel like there is so much more that kids need to do today to sort of shine versus what we actually did. We had so much time. And I feel like they barely have time. So what's adding to the pressure?
Can I be very honest? I'll be beaten blue and black in the community. We've created a parallel passion economy. A child at the age 16 has to be passionate about badminton or tennis. He has to be a certain level player. And there is a whole counselor community who says, if you don't do this, colleges will not give you admission. You don't write a research paper at age 14. You will have a trouble. You don't do this. Why? But there is a whole $1 million economy which is parallelly creating by instilling this fear, saying profile building. So profile building के नाम पे हमने बच्चों का सत्यानाश कर दिया है. No peace of mind, no creativity, no downtime. The moment a month prior to vacation starting, I had at least 20 of my friends reaching out to me. Is there a summer camp I can send my kid to? Is there a coding camp I can send my kid to? Is there a gifted program I can send my kid to? Papa, your kid is sitting in a 60 to 65% bracket. Ask him what he wants to learn and enjoy during vacations. Give him some time to do unstructured learning also. Everything is so structured in child's life that there is no downtime, there's no thinking. So I think Let children be children. Let them not adult so soon. Already there is enough media influence for them to reach adulthood earlier than we were, biologically and physiologically and psychologically. But at least don't take away their childhood memories. Don't take away, an opportunity for them to sit at home and do nothing. It's all right if they're doing nothing.
Right. But do you feel, and again, from your experience, do you feel parents who are very alpha, who kind of push and have and bring about a structure to their child's life, versus somebody who's more relaxed or laid back? Have you seen difference in short-term and long-term results of those children?
So are we talking about two spectrums, extreme spectrums? There has to be a balance, because child is also growing in a vulnerable community. You have to set certain non-negotiables for the child. What are those non-negotiables? You have to discuss in your context. For example, I can't say if the child, there is no learning difficulty diagnosed and the child is not attempting to study at home at all. There is a constant complaint from school ki homework nahi pura ho raha hai. You say, nahi yaar, kya hai, bachcha hai, karne do. You also have to prepare the child for the real world, saying, in a child's life, let's sit down and figure out what are the negotiables for you, what are the non-negotiables for you, what is your journey, what is your achievement level, and what do you have to gain through these experiences. But let me tell you, I'll give you very, it's a sample size is small, but I'm meeting a friend's son who's in Auroville. She's gone to Auroville and she lives in Auroville. She's in Auroville now. You bring her kid to a table, he can beat any top level school kid in conversation. The way he explains the meaning and purpose of life, I don't think I can articulate it that well. And how he's learned it through community learning. There is no structured schooling there. Bangalore has great schools like Pune Learning Center and Creative, and it's a couple of great schools. They're learning communities. I've seen the best kids coming from there in Legacy when I was teaching at Legacy. And they had no formal schooling till probably age 15, 16. They only started formal schooling when they reached particularly 9th and 10th. They were only learning, and children across age groups sitting. So I think the science is proven, neuroscience has explained it, there are examples, but it's easy to industrialize our education model, so hence we fall victim to that. So I've seen kids whose parents are not aspirational at all, if that's your question. But they have been given the right stimuli in the environment by enrolling them into the learning communities and not probably formal schools, and allowed the freedom to make their own choices. I've seen them succeeding very, very well. Vis-a-vis a parent who's an alpha and saying, I want my child to achieve this at this age, at this age, at this age, doesn't work out. I also know a great kid, participated in, for anonymity, I won't be able to name the child, but went to one of the toughest competition in the world. It's called World Championship something. India's youngest silver medalist in India's history was competing with 24, 25, but did not get any top college. He went to Georgia Tech, great university, but MIT, Stanford, Harvard, none of that. Why? Because child did not have a why. He did not see anything beyond self. So if you're looking at top colleges, they are also identifying what you're doing is also structured and paid for. You're not fools by the end of it. And the child has a substance inside. So I always say what you do, it doesn't matter. Why you're doing it would matter. That is what would stand out in a college application. And so don't think what you're doing. Even if you're going to a neighbor's auntie and getting her ration 4 times a week, but what is the purpose and motive behind that is what is important. If you're doing it for college application, it's as good as writing a research paper to XYZ company paying $4,000 and coming back. It's as good or as bad as that. But if you're doing because there is a level of empathy, you understand her children are overseas, and your 10 minutes with her, 20 minutes with her, reminder of her child with her time with the grandparents, and that gives you a sense of fulfillment, that empathy in that relationship gives you some meaning and purpose, then there is a story here, right? So I don't think either is an ideal scenario. I think you have to allow children to experiment. Experimentation is also very sort of now, if you go, just like you go to doctor, right? They say, okay, ये नहीं खाना, ये एंटीबायोटिक्स है, ये कर लीजिए. आप एक काउंसलर के पास जाइएगा, ये रिसर्च पेपर लिखना है, साउथ अफ्रीका जाना है, एक ईमू फार्म पे आपको सर्व करना है, और उसके बाद इंडिया में आना है, किसी स्लम में जाके आपको थोड़े से बच्चों को पढ़ाना है, और ये सब आपको अपने रिज्यूमे में डालना है, एंड देयर इज अ ग्रेट रेसिपी फॉर अ ग्रेट एप्लीकेशन. सॉरी, इट डजंट वर्क आउट. Has child through the process become a better human being? No. So I think this is where we're going wrong. We're commercializing and industrializing everything. There's too much of structure to everything. And learning doesn't happen in structures, let me tell you. There is only, if I may say, imitation happens in structures. You may be able to imitate a structure, you may be able to produce a desired result, but that's not learning, because it's done under a forced stimuli, it's constantly being fed, or it's been tutored, mentored, scaffolded way too much.
Right. I love that. I love how you said, for me, I think that's the golden line that you mentioned, which is imitation happens in structured environments. That was so well said.